Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a EquinEdge Live edition of Bruno, and welcome everybody for joining. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to go through some Churchill here coming up, Bruno, and then we're going to get into the Derby and kind of how that hangover effect has got us here the week before the Preakness, and then a couple of races at Churchill. So welcome. How are you doing?
You know, I've actually almost recuperated from that whole Derby hangover. This year was a little different because we had all the excitement with Bo Cruz running. He came out of the race. He came out of the stall the morning of with a bruised foot, and we had to scratch him. And I got to tell you, if you don't think that let the air out of the balloon on Saturday morning, it was just devastating to a lot of the entire partnership, because we all put in so much work to get our tickets, to the time to come out here, to spend the weekend at the Derby, and the excitement. And then when it's gone and all of a sudden it's that adrenaline, there's nothing much left. And it doesn't matter. Even if I didn't have Bo Cruz running, the next couple of days after the Derby, it's a hangover for me. And it isn't because I'm out partying and out drinking. It's because of all the work you put in, and all of a sudden you're done, and you're kind of left there with a void to fill. So it's the life we chose, and I love it. But I was knocked out for a couple of days.
I'm sure. Well, let's see if we can do something here with Churchill coming up, and then we'll talk Derby in the aftermath from there. Churchill Downs Race 5. I've got the race simulator up here. We got, I think, just a couple minutes to post, or 1 minute to post. So I'll flip through it right here rather quickly. The 5 and the 2 there, it's showing that are on the pace. And then kind of the same thing, but the stretch is a little bit different with the 4 and the 7 closing. And it does have the 2 winning, which is the top pick. I know we talked about this a few minutes ago. Thoughts?
I'm trying to beat the 2. I like the 4, Epic Battle, coming back off a layout for Tom Drury. He's very cagey. He likes to win at these particular tracks. Particular track, Churchill. His first 2 starts were very, very good. Obviously, something happened in the slot, and he got beat by Out of the Conqueror when he ran 50 by 15, but something happened. He went on a layoff. Now, a lot of players just draw a line through that horse because of the bad effort last time out. Well, I don't know what's wrong with him. Well, he's coming off a layoff. That means they fixed whatever the problem was. And trust me, if you're one of those guys that think that if you knew what the problem was, that you could bet the horse or not bet the horse, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Like, for example, if I told you, let's say, for example, when Bo Cruz went on a layoff, he cracked a pelvis. And I had people going, ooh, really? Oh, that's bad. I'm like, no, it's not. It was a minor crack, and it's the big bone. It heals. It's like a tibia. You tell somebody he's got a cracked tibia. Oh, my God. Relax. The tibias heal. What you don't want to hear is knee joints, chips in the knees, spurs in the knees, middle joints, a tendon, soft tissue, But a lot of people, even if they knew, they wouldn't know what the hell to do with it. So a lot of the times it's just not even worth knowing. And this horse is probably going to run a decent race. He fits in here.
Yeah, he does fit in here. I mean, you've got him working pretty good here too, as we looked at this horse, and again off the layoff, gets Capleone. I think you're getting 9-2 right now. I don't have the ADW screen up, but Epic Battle for Bruno. The 7 is interesting. I mean, it's going to be the favorite, obviously, right? And hasn't won in a while.
Who is this now?
Pardon me?
Who is this?
The 7.
Yeah, right now it's between the 7 and 2. The 7 is, see, also, here's another point too, Chris. These are non-winners at 2. They've all just broken their maiden.
Yeah.
The 7 has got 3 seconds going in. He's got Jose. I can see why they're betting him. You've got Maker that started the meet really hot, and he's got this one for his favorite client, the 3 Diamonds Farm. And it's interesting. He got him from Pletcher, and he's running them for 80,000 non-winners at 2. So he's kind of telling you what he thinks of the horse. He said, if you want him, you can have him for 80,000. They spent 310,000 on him.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that you just sit back sometimes and say, here's what we got, and you can have them for that kind of money. I have a tendency to shy away from those horses.
Any thoughts on Jordan Blair at 16% in this move here?
On Blair Jordan?
Yeah, Brazen Boy.
I'm looking at his synthetic form was just average.
Yeah.
His dirt form is average. He doesn't come out of, majorly fast races. He's a kind of a horse that I go, okay, beat me if you can.
Yeah, I mean, the win percentages, we were both on them with the 2 and the 4. The 7's at 15%, and then you kind of get with the rest here. I don't know if some of these bottom level ones here can make it, but looks like they're going to the post. So,
and can I just say this, Chris? None of these horses are worth $80,000. None of them.
No,
they're really most likely between 32 and 40. I have found that these $80,000 claiming races are just about as equivalent to a $40,000 or $50,000 claiming race, and this is a non-winners of 2.
Well, I think they do that somewhat to prevent people from claiming them and trying to take them out of state too, right? Because then they got to go to jail, claiming jail.
For a moment, I was like, "Oh, that's pretty harsh." They write these higher claiming races. I was surprised that this is a 4-year-old and up, and or 3-year-olds and up, and it's got an $80,000 claiming price on it. I was really kind of never won 2 races and they're claiming price of 80,000. You don't get these very often. So
they're off at Churchill.
I'm a little bit behind you.
Well, eventually you're going to see the same thing I see, which is 2, 5, and the 7 with the 3 coming up between the 2 and the 5. Five we didn't talk about.
That's the Chris Davis horse.
Tiger's Legacy. Frankie. Well, in the 2, pull away. Who's closing? The 8 over Boar.
Mike Maker is red hot right now. So
2 is game. Size.
Just see the 5 get by him. Come on, get by him 5. He's not going to get by him.
No.
Now, whatever Maker's doing right now, he's on fire.
No. All right, top pick. Race Simulator liked it. All right, let's go back to.
Hey, Chris, I look at it this way: you can have them.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
I mean, it went off at 3-1. Actually, didn't go favorite. They bet 7 now.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But Mike Maker's red hot. You might want to put that in your book.
Yeah, certainly something to look at.
I mean, he's about 5 out of 9. I'm sorry. Start investigation. 5 out of 9, 5 out of 10. Come on, So all of a sudden, this guy is turned it around from being a 10% trainer. Sometimes you got to look at it that way. Okay, I got him down. Now he's hot. Let's follow him until he stops. Until his horses start hitting the back of the pack.
That's usually, it's not a bad way to look at that. I mean, sometimes we get that a lot in like New York in the winter. Linda Rice wins a lot of races, right? So you're going to have to figure out where you're going to use that horse and where your price thresholds are. But
I think Mike Maker pounds
was not a bad way to go.
No, I run my whole idea of gambling around hot trainers. I go to twinspires.com. I click on the trainer. I want to see what they've done the last 14 days. You go last 14 days, you find Maker is hitting about 50%. You want to know that. You just can't look at the original, just if you look at Mike Maker's, is the 16% for 2024. Well, he's hitting now 50% at Churchill. I want to know the 50 freaking percent at Churchill than the stupid 16% in 2024. That's just the way it works. But people are stuck on what they're seeing on paper, on that 2024 statistic. They get stuck on that. And they don't realize that guy is red hot in the last 14 days. And that's something that's very hard for me to try to teach people. What has that trainer done in the last 14 days? Period. I don't care if he's 30%. If he's 8% in the last 14 days, I am off. You know that. How many people out there see these guys get hot? They're like 10 to 12% trainers. They're red hot at 30, 40% for a little. They win everything. And everybody's going, well, he's only a 12% trainer. No, he's not. Last 2 weeks, he's been 35%. So
yeah. We have Bruno. We have guys in our chat that pick up on that quite frequently, and they do quite well. But let's turn the page back to Churchill Downs on Derby Day, specifically the Kentucky Derby. Mystic Dan, your winner. Thoughts on that? I mean, I don't think you were probably shocked.
You know what? I was shocked of how great a trip he got.
Oh. I mean,
he got through every hole, which over the years, by the way, I just saw the winner's circle picture being taken at Churchill Downs. I guess those guys didn't have the exacta, because it looked like everybody, it was like a funeral in that winner's circle. But just that trip that he got, and he made every hole. But if you go back over the years, Street Sense got a perfect trip like that. Ferdinand, I believe Big Brown got one like that. I'm trying to remember all the horses. Smarty Jones. It seems like the rail is open on Derby Day because everybody is terrified of being stopped inside and then being butchered, and being, and being criticized. But that rail is always open. If somebody takes it, they got a great chance. Looking at Lee ran second to Always Dreaming because he followed him up the rail. So a lot of the times it could be that simple. Just take the rail.
Well, I think given the post position and the fact that he thought he could outbreak the two inside of them and get position and kind of dictate where he was going to be. And when you look at the head-ons with the new gate, Bruno, a lot different than what we used to see in the past. It almost seems like there's two clumps that come out on each side with a little gap between the pack, and then that kind of orders its way out. I don't know, maybe within the first 60 yards, 80 yards, or something like that.
Well, the insight. Well, let me put it this way: from the 5-hole out to about the 10-hole, it was bumper cars for the good first 3/8 of a mile. I mean, Just a Touch got destroyed in the early part of the race. I mean, he got bounced around, hanged, bumped, took up. Catalytic was in there. Just Steel actually ran an amazing race because he took all that bumping and everything, ran off and pressed the pace, the fastest pace, and got tired. I think that's the kind of horse that I'm going to follow into the Preakness because he ran a really good race. He never got a chance to take a breather. He got knocked. He probably got the wind knocked out of him. I just felt like he did more than a lot of these other horses. You look at where all the speed ended up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of it got eaten up, obviously, and that happens a lot. I mean, Catching Freedom here, the second pick ended up in 4th for us.
He ran well, too. He ran well.
Yeah, and then thoughts on the 11 and the 2, and should it have gone how it went, or how should it have gone in your mind?
Well, I liked Just a Touch and Sierra Leone. I keyed them on top of Mystic Dan, Forever Young, Catching Freedom, just and themselves. And I had a small exact that went Forever Young to Sierra Leone, so I was all around it in my own betting, just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah.
You know,
how much of this race? I mean, let's go back to, should there have been an inquiry? Should there have been at least a formal inquiry, and then either these are the reasons why, yes or no, kind of like what they did.
There should have been an inquiry. That was definitely a foul. However, I'll say this: it's above my pay grade as far as telling the stewards what to do. Yes, there should have been an inquiry sign. But I'm not going to go crazy about it and talk about things that I have no control over. I'm a big guy about that. If I don't have control of something I can't obsess about it. Now, I will say that the way Sierra Leone runs with that head down so low, he really does not give Tyler Gaffleone any opportunity to really steer him right. You'd have to really put kind of more of a severe bid on him to keep him from doing that. But the way he runs with his head down, that's a nightmare for some jocks to control.
Does he do that in the mornings?
No. He runs with his head down, yeah, but he doesn't log in like that because he's always on the inside.
Well, let me see. Tell me what you're talking about here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. All
right. So between the Sierra Leone on the inside there, a domestic product, I think I can see what you're saying there. Is you can tell that the one on the outside has
he runs like AP Indy. AP Indy also had his head down like that. Snow Chief used to have his head down like that. Mm-hmm. Your rider is almost on top of. It's like your handlebars on your bicycle are way farther down by the tire.
Mm-hmm.
So, but go back and you can see it also in the Keeneland work. He was inside, so he's inside in his works, but he races outside. I don't know why. Maybe they're afraid to get him stopped. Also, there could have been not be a bit issue because maybe they put him in a different bit in the morning and he didn't really perform. Or he didn't like wearing that bit. So there's always that particular part. Maybe Tyler Gaffleone wasn't comfortable with that bit. So it's all about the control, and Tyler did not have any control whatsoever.
Do you see him kind of getting out here at the end?
Puts his head down.
Do you see him kind of getting out here at the end of the work?
I can't see the work on there.
Okay. It looks like he kind of gets out there as as the work, they've already crossed the wire and they're just kind of galloping out. But he did look like he kind of moved out.
He's not getting out. He's not lugging out. I got to look. I mean, I can't see it.
Okay. What do you, let me find my mouse here.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't see it.
All right. I've got it shared. Anyway.
Here, I'll look at it on my end over here. Just so I'll look at it on my end and see what we've got.
But Mystic,
all right, I'll tell you when to start it.
Are you there? There you are.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just trying to pull it up myself. I want to see what you're talking about.
It was right at the end as they were crossing.
Go ahead. Well, I do this, and I'll let you know when I'm watching.
All right. Well, Mystic Dan was the Scotty Longshot winner there, paying $39.22 over Sierra Leone.
Okay, I'm watching them coming down the lane. Now down the lane, Sierra Leone is 2 off the inside, and domestic product is to the outside. They're pretty much off the rail. They're approaching the wire now. Nothing's changed. There's a big hold on him.
Just to say, come past that turn.
I mean, he was perfect.
Okay.
His shoulders. What I'm seeing is that his shoulders. What you're seeing is the switch of the shoulder, the switch of the lead, because he's on the right lead. So for him to go into the turn, he's got to move his shoulder down, switch his shoulder down, come down, and go through the turn. So he's doing one of these. Also, everybody out there has ridden a bike before, right? You've ridden a bike before, right, Chris?
Yeah.
What do you do when you enter a turn?
When you what?
Yeah, but what do you do when you enter a turn? When you go into a turn, to take a turn, what do you do? Don't you go out and come back in?
Yeah, typically I would try and signal first, and then
there you go. You lean in, you move out, and you come down and sweep down. Horses do that, and it's another part. I cannot get people to understand that horses don't just go like this around the turn. They've got to drop their left shoulder, switch leads, and go in through the turn and dive down. That's why a lot of times you see them running 3 off the rail. It's not because the rail is bad. It's because they need that room to be able to dive down and accelerate into the turn on their left lead. So a lot of the times it's frustrating for me to hear players, especially at Saratoga, oh, they're way off the rail because that rail must be deep. No, it's because they want to dive down onto the rail and they want to invite anybody who wants to come up that rail and then cut them off. And that's why you see a lot of times guys bouncing off the rail, because there's 2 on the inside and then they got to go like this around the turn. It doesn't work that way. That's centrifugal force. You can't fuck with Mother Nature on that part of it.
All right. Well, thoughts moving forward. I mean, we know of some of the horses that are likely for the Preakness. Sierra Leone is not one of them. I'm going to go up to Saratoga and train for the Belmont at Saratoga at 1.25 miles. I think he could be formidable there. Nice little rebound, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll handle that when he starts training and starts doing things. You know, it's for me. I cannot fathom trying to make a selection or a thought on a race that's 4 weeks away, and I have not seen the horse come out of the prior race. Let me add one more thing about horses going through turns. Some horses are really good on left leads, and some horses are really good on right leads. There's some horses that are ambidextrous. They can handle each lead. But I have owned horses that were fantastic on the left lead. That means they could really accelerate through the left side of their body with their left lead. And some that were really right-handed horses that when they switched to the right, they were really powerful. So a lot of the times when you see horses that handle turns really well, you have to watch the way they switch leads and the way they come home. Some horses can't do it, and their left lead is their best tool or their best asset. So there's a lot of times I look for horses, and I try to decide what kind of horse is it ambidextrous? Is it a horse that goes through the left lead well but not the right? Is it a very strong? I'll tell you, a really strong right lead horse was Dixie Union. Dixie Union was the Dixie Union, the old Mandela. I think he won a big race at Monmouth. I think he might have won the Haskell, but he was not good through the turn. He could not make any ground on the turn. Forte was not a left lead horse. He was better with a right lead. He lost ground on the turn. See a horse that loses ground on the turn and the rider's doing this, they're not very good on that left lead. But then all of a sudden they switch over to that right and they're powerful and they go right by. It's just like that right-handed picture or the right-handed hitter. He's not very good left-handed. They're not going to be switch hitting. They only hit right-handed. Same thing with horses.
Yeah, well, we've got a bunch of new shooters that will be coming into the Preakness, which will make that interesting. And then, you've got horses like Fierceness and Endlessly, West Saratoga, Forever Young, Track Phantom, Catching Freedom, Mystic Dan. I mean, we can talk about that. Is he going to go to the
Fierceness? Quarterback, by the way. I do not believe Fierceness is going.
No, I don't think so.
He's not going.
Where does Fierceness go for here? Is that try and go to the Belmont or save that for the summer?
It all depends how bad his quarterback was.
True.
The vets were all over him, by the way. They were looking for a reason to scratch him. Because he was doing well. And I said it. I don't like the way he's moving. And it was because of a quarter crack, and they had to put glue on shoes, which is interesting. Our horse ended up getting glue on shoes after. So there was something with that track that was causing feet to be really sore.
And so you get the call that morning. I saw your post and everything, and like you mentioned before, I mean, total bummer and letdown. But how's Bo doing, and where's he going from here? And then we'll go over to the next at Churchill.
Well, where he's going to the track tomorrow. He went to the track today, and he looked fine, moved well. They did a lot of work on the foot. They put glue on shoes and removed his regular horseshoes, metal horseshoes, aluminum pads. So we're being careful with that heel because it's right on the heel of the foot, right in the back area. There's a fleshy part. And if you've got flat feet, some horses have some room between their frog and their hoof and the ground. He doesn't. He's flat-footed. How many out there, and I can't see hands, but how many are out there are flat-footed people? You have no arch. So your back takes more pounding because of the way your foot goes down, and it impacts your lower back. Same with horses. I have a very high arch, and what happens as you know is sometimes you've got to give them that arch some support because basically when it starts dropping, that's when your back starts to go. Same thing with horses. You got to watch the way that foot is built, and you need to maybe give them a little bit of hand of being able to raise the heel or drop the heel or do something with pads underneath between the shoe and the foot to actually give them that ability of not bruising his feet every time he hits the ground. I've got horrible feet, Chris. Horrible from my days of playing soccer. I tore one arch in one foot. I have to wear arch supports on both feet so I don't get the sciatic nerve pain up my leg and into my back. When I wear my supports on my arch, which my arch is like this, that high, and it started to drop. So now it's like this. So now my back is better. Little tip for people out there. You have back pain, lower back pain, take care of your feet, take care of your arches, and you'll see a drastic improvement, just like with horses.
All right, that's probably a separate show, the Bruno Arch Support show. But let's get to Churchill here, race 6. We talked briefly about Winston Wolf. This horse is here in the 6th, going a mile and 16th here, it looks like. You had some decent comments, obviously, on maintenance work here. And again, these are claimers, but I typically, when I see you make these kinds of comments, it just means like that it looked better than the rest to you. Any thoughts on that?
Well, here's two ways you can look at this. All right. You can look at this and say, okay, what has Tom Amoss done with this horse here? He claimed him for $30,000, non-winners of 2. So now, what are you expecting to see this horse next time out after the claim? Well, if he went for 30 again in non-winners of 2, you'd say, well, he just wants to win and get rid of him, or he's no good. Well, he protects him in a starter allowance 30. He moves him to a starter allowance race that's protected, and he's putting him in a spot that he actually fits. So, number one, him and Maggie Moss have done very, very well together. One thing that I wish we would get is owner-trainer percentage. Wishful thinking. I kind of do my own a little bit, and I'll tell you one thing: Maggie Moss and Tom Amoss do very well together with claiming types. So I'm looking at this horse here. He's spotted correctly. He's protecting him. Now, I don't put big stock in the works because. And this is another part that sometimes is tough for me to get players to understand. If they look great in the morning, then are they better than $30,000 claimers? Or they are $30,000 claimers for a reason.
Correct. right? I mean, a lot of this is the level. I mean, and you can talk about that a bit. I mean, how much stock you put in 3-star works here at this level.
I just want to see him hit the ground comfortable.
Huh?
That's all it is. I want to see, I'll give a 3-star if the horse is moving well and hitting the ground well. However, I mean, there's another horse here on the rail called Arid's Cloud that was a former Amos. I mean, this horse trained like a storm, up a storm down at Fairgrounds. Mm-hmm. But I realized after the second work I saw him that that's who he is. So you've got to look at these horses and you've got to get an understanding that this is who this horse is. He's moving well, he's hitting the ground fine, and that's all you got to worry about. About as fast as they going, or am I going to give 4-star? You won't catch me giving 4 stars to any horses that are at this level. Will not do it.
Got it. The other one that was somewhat intriguing was Knox. We talked about this a little bit with Jordan Blair earlier. 16% first race back, and first race with horse at 21%. You know, under 18 on both of those. But you had a note here that the jock was standing straight up, not asked for too much. He must have looked fairly decent to get a 3-star, and then I'm guessing just, you know, doing a maintenance.
Hitting the ground well. He was hitting it, and you know what? They took care of him. The rider stood straight up and basically did not want to do anything more. Less is more with these claimers.
Yeah.
You're looking for fast times with these claiming horses in the morning, you're barking up the wrong tree. All you want to see is consistency and guys that know how to handle these horses. Tom Amos is fantastic with these kind of horses.
No, and as we look at Harold's Cloud, the one, 2 for 5 at the distance, but I think class challenged here somewhat.
And that's a great point. Great point, Chris. You talked about the Jordan Blair horse. Where has he done his damage?
That's Knox, yes. Knox.
At Gulfstream.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's doing it in state breds, in a 25. So go back over to Harold's Cloud. You always got to remember, you got to look where these horses are coming from.
Mm-hmm. Fairgrounds.
Yeah, he was coming from Fairgrounds. What was he before the claim from Tom Amos? He was with Shearer, with Stidham. Stidham had him in starter optional claimers. He ran him for $50,000 maiden claiming. So he had run him for $150,000 maiden claiming. So you could tell that the trainer wasn't quite sure where to put this horse.
No, I think Fairgrounds plays a little bit differently than Churchill. I do hear what you're saying, class level and everything here. These horses are all trying to move up a bunch more. Winston Wolf over here is the one running really at the level when you kind of look through those over here. Here's a 54. I mean, the 10, Bob White Bobby. Low percent, well, 17% trade.
But he's also coming from what? He's coming from Remington Park.
Bob White, the 10. Well, yeah, you're right. He was based there.
He was against Oklahoma breds.
Yeah, that's where his wins were.
Yes.
One off here.
When I look at that, I right away say, all right, he's a little bit overclassed.
Yeah, I mean, it's within a few here. His wins, though, obviously he hasn't been able to step up and do anything here. They're getting ready to go into the gate.
So it's pretty simple. You look for a trainer that does well and knows how to spot these claiming horses. You look for a trainer and to see what he does. The one thing about Winston Wolf is what he's doing. He put him in a race that he can't lose him. Mm-hmm. That tells you, and if this horse doesn't win in here, watch him. He'll show up for 25 or 30 next time out. He'll say, here you go. You can have him.
Yeah, and Tom Amos here with Luis Saez. Strangely, they don't seem to team up too often.
I don't put a whole lot of stock in that.
Okay.
I don't. I think,
All right, 6 is on the lead with the 1 right behind it.
Yeah, you're a little bit ahead of me. I knew my 5 was beaten last time out because I know you were talking about the 2.
Well.
Now, right now, I don't like the way the 9 is. The 9 is 4 wide on the first turn. I hate that. I really do hate that. I hate horses going 2, 3, 4, 5 wide on the first turn. That's a kiss of death.
Trying to make it a 1.25 mile race.
Yeah, they're running a mile and a mile and an eighth and a mile event.
Yeah, that's typically at this level.
He's got to be much best. He's got to be much best from here. I mean, he's got him in a little bit. He's not very parked out wide. Let's see what he's got. He's going to go 4 wide into the turn because they're not right on the rail.
Yep, now he's in full flight. I think he might have a chance to get in. No, he's not going to get in the money either. I mean, they're not going to catch the 8. The race
was a hammer lock at the quarter pole.
Yeah.
And here comes Errol's Cloud.
No.
He's going to get second, or maybe not. The 6 might hold on. For second. Nope. Errol's Cloud got him. But, I mean, so now I'm expecting – see, I didn't like that. He never tucked him in. He got stuck out there. It's nothing he can do. It's a horse that I would expect for 7pmEST to put back into it. That's why I don't put a whole lot of stock into the claiming works.
Mm-hmm.
Because they already have shown you who they are.
All right. Well, from a betting standpoint, how do those factor into what you play, either multi-race or that race individually?
How do I factor it in?
Yeah, I mean, how does that go in? Like, if you're going to play the Churchill card, would this be a race you would just avoid?
I don't avoid races. I would be a little bit more skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm looking up on the winner here. He's a Robert Medina, Harlow Stables, 2-1 with Tyler. He had to improve, and he did. We had him third on the sheet behind Errol's Cloud and Winston Wolfe. So, Robert Medina doesn't win a lot of races until he comes to Kentucky, and then in Kentucky he seems to win races. So, former Shug assistant, and this horse ran out of his mind. Tyler Gaffalione was under a hammerlock at the quarter pole.
Yeah.
I mean, absolute hammerlock. So
East Road for him 40 times. Tyler has and won 15% of the time. So it probably validates exactly what you're saying. That he wins his races there. So maybe keep him in mind moving forward. But looks like it was 8-1-6-5. No,
8-1-6-9-5.
Yeah.
But now, see, it's what I said earlier. If you're looking at workouts, you say, well, Bruno likes the 9 horse. No, I didn't go overboard on it. I mean, he worked with another claimer, Luna Vieja. They worked strongly out, but I'm looking at the past performance, going, okay, am I going to single this horse? No, because he's already shown me who he is. He's a 30K non-winners of 2.
Sure. And if you take that with these comments, like, all right, we know who the 9 is. So, and you see, okay, you at least made a note here of how the horse was working strong out. There's nothing negative in either one of these comments. You at least know that the horse is probably fit and ready to go. Can it win? To be determined. Price, ended up down there at 5-1. It was a little bit higher than it was before, but
right.
That's where you ended up with. So.
And you've got a barn that it finally broke through. I would have a tendency to be much more aggressive with a Winston Wolfe when 7pmEST is hitting around 25%.
Mm-hmm. So again, trying to again,
to see. I am a big believer that I want to strike when the iron's hot with trainers.
And you said that about, just a few minutes ago about Maker. So that kind of makes sense.
And then, another thing, too, on this horse, I just looked at it right now. Amos claimed him from a 26% trainer.
Which one? Which one are we looking at?
Winston Wolf.
Yeah.
So, you sometimes you look at it and go, can he improve off this horse, off this guy? Now watch this horse. You'll probably drop in for 20 next time out. But I'm sure they're disappointed. Maggie Moss doesn't like to hold on to horses very long. They run that claiming business down to a T. And you got to know your claiming horses, claiming trainers too.
Oh yeah. It's a whole different ball game than a lot of the other ones at the higher levels, for sure. All right, Bruno.
No, absolutely.
Let's get over to race 7 at Churchill. This was the grass race at 1 mile and a 16th. Johnny Fireball was the money bag. We kind of talked about this one. He's opened up as the favorite.
Well, he's going to. He's opened up as a favorite. What is he?
5-2, soft favorite.
You can show me the cuts.
Right here.
Oh yeah, he opened up 5-2. I like Camp Hope on the outside. The Kenny McPeak horse. Do me a favor. If you got PPs, everybody out there, indulge me. Take your PPs out. Now, your past performances out. I have to make sure that I say that the right way.
Yeah.
Right. I can hear you snickering over there, by the way.
Hey, I've got it up on the screen here. Here's the horse's past performance.
I heard you snickering, though, because the way it came out. Draw a line through every single race that is not a stake, every single stake event on that horse's past performances.
Mm-hmm.
You are left with 3 races. How did he do?
Looks like he did pretty well.
2 out of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the time he got beat, it was on a turf course, on a good turf course at Keeneland, and he was favored.
Well, isn't the Keeneland turf course always good? I mean, when was the last time it was fun?
At the end of the meet. Oh, not at the end of this meet.
No.
I think early part of the meet, I was on it when we won with Bo Cruz. It was pretty firm. The first weekend.
They've labeled it, the whole spring meet, it was labeled good. Anyway, that's just an inside joke.
Where do you live, Chris?
Yeah.
Chris, where do you live?
Just north of Tampa.
I'm not looking for an address. No address. Just area.
Just north of Tampa.
Oh, you're in Tampa? And, it never rains there. But here we've had rain all week. Every day. Last night, there was a thunder strike that felt like an earthquake. So we have had a lot of rain in Kentucky here in the last 2-3 weeks. But this horse on a firm turf course, I think, and they list it as good, but that turf course is pretty hard. I look for this horse to run a big race. He's trained well. McPeak had a little bit of luck over the weekend.
Just a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Combo.
And this is a neat horse. This guy is a nice horse. And he's sitting at 6-1. Johnny's Fireball, they bet him because he works great every single time, and this is his love. He is one of those horses that look at my comments and you see the way I write about him, that he is very, very consistent in the morning. And he puts in some big, big works. That's my exacta, really.
Okay. Fort Washington, for sure. Luis.
Well, then you got, wait a minute. Then you've got the horse coming in from the also eligibles, I think, Chasing the Crown, the Maker.
Chasing the Crown is also in, yes. Maker. 7-2 again.
Yeah.
Another one that ran that common race with Camp Hope, I believe.
I'm just not a fan of Fort Washington. Not a fan of Fort Washington. Um, you've got, let's see who else you got in here. You got El Kabong that's actually trained decent. And he's sitting over at, what's El Kabong?
7-1.
Yeah, he's a price there.
Yeah, you got a lot of notes on him going back many workouts. Again, nothing where you're, touting it as the next best, whatever. But square price on that horse there. If you like those patterns, certainly.
I don't knock him, do I?
No.
He's not knocked at all. If you go back to Kabong and look at his workmates. He worked solo, which means he liked him and he put him in a spot by himself. You notice I give him 3 stars. It's a slow time, but I give him 3 stars.
Yeah.
Then you go back over to the April 27th. He went by himself again, and I looked well. Sometimes it's that little tag that people just don't understand, and that's when I'm trying to tell you this horse is okay. He worked with Laver, another turf horse, I believe a winner. Then I think he worked with Flipperino before that. I like the fact that the last 2 works have been by himself. Tells me that horse, he thinks the horse is ready.
Is that like horse specific for you, or is that vary depending on the horse? I mean, does it matter if they're do some need to work in company and some don't?
Some trainers will work them by themselves when they're happy with their conditioning. Some trainers will work them together in company when they think they need to get more out of it. If you got a horse that's lazy and he goes 51 by himself and he doesn't put out, then you put him in company to make him run. It's all individual horse. You got to know the individual horse and who it is, and what, and you got to understand the trainer. There's no ifs and buts about it. You can look at all percentages that anybody out there wants to look at. You'll never really know what that trainer does or how he does things, and you've got to look at the horses through a trainer's eye. And sometimes watching them in the morning, just the way a trainer trains, you get to see whether they like them. Or, it depends on the company too. When we were working Beau Cruz for the race last Saturday, we had him with a filly named Neutralize, who's just a cheap $30,000 filly. We didn't want him doing too much, and that's why that workmate was chosen. If we wanted Beau to do more, we would have put him with a different horse that could actually go 47 and do more than that. We didn't want to do more than that. And look at what Neutralize did. She came back around the $30,000 level. She still speed for half a mile, and then she packed it in. That's who she is. Half mile and packed it in. Perfect workmate for a horse that you don't want to do too much with.
Yeah. Is that the case here with number 3, going into Churchill Downs race 7? Off the layoff here.
WWNL?
Yeah.
I don't know much about that horse.
I mean, Danny Gargan here, coming in here off a layoff, 16%. Doesn't really, I mean, you've got some just stars on here. It's been working on the grass.
I didn't have anything on him.
Well, just nothing.
Yeah, we had nothing on him.
Okay. Last ran back in February. So, all right, that's the long shot. Anything else here that struck you out?
Thing too, Danny Gargan wins at a high percentage at certain times of the year. He's not. What do they have? And what is he? 2024, 16%.
Let's see here. 16%.
I'm pulling him up right here. He's 16%, but it's, you got to wonder, where is he winning with his races? This horse hasn't won since October at Keeneland. He's had 2 breaks since then. He won the Remsen, and then kind of ran in 2 great Group 1, Grade 3 and Grade 1 race, including the Florida Derby, and was nowhere. He was favored in the Sam F. Davis. He just not much of a horse. I don't know how he ever won the Remsen. Who did he beat that time?
I cannot pull that up, but
Uh,
on the track too.
something, I don't know. But
Well,
very average.
He broke his maiden in the slop and then ran off there at the same track essentially. So that is the long shot pick there. Anybody else here that was interesting to you? That was pretty much.
I think it's a tough field. It's a tough field, and like I said, I like I do like Camp Open here.
Yeah, I like the 9 El Kabong along with your 10. I could pair them together.
Yeah, I mean, I got to figure out how to play this and thinking about it. The 4 is going to be right around there, right around the wire.
Well, let me ask you this: do you have a strong opinion in the 8th?
No, I didn't. I think there was a couple of scratches in there. I did not have a strong opinion at all. Again, you're talking about you're talking about you're talking 3-year-old fillies that have started for 50,000 or less, and which have broken their maiden in a maiden auction, which have never won 2 races. I mean, that whole condition is just so convoluted. It's really hard to figure out who's what. I'm looking in here, and I think Spiritual Lady had a shot. Who did I pick in here? The 8, 7 Natty Patty coming off of a race just barely 5 days ago was scratched. Ready for Trouble could very well handle a 7/8 of a mile. So it's a crapshoot. Who did I have in here?
Do you like anything about the 1?
Let's see. I picked it second. Okay. I got Ready for Trouble and Spiritual Lady.
All right. That's exactly, if you see my screen, that's what the race simulator has. It has the 1 beating the 9 by a nose, so essentially right there. I mean, this group here, the 4, 5, 6, and 7 seem to be ones that can kind of run on, and then 10 and 2, 10 being the long shot here. All right, Bruno. Well, I'm just going to do a double into the 1 from this race. And I'm going to use the 9, 10 to the 1, and then I'll play some Johnny Fireball straight out 4, 1. That would be my ending double.
Yeah, a lot of people are all over the 11 in this race here, in the 7th race at Churchill. And that's Chasing the Crown, which I can understand. Mike Maker is red hot. That's the other part of it too. Sometimes when you go into a card and you do it the night before, and the trainer is all of a sudden pops out of there again like he's red hot. You know what? If you look at this and you say, all right, who's red hot and trainers in here? McPeak and Maker. Yep. Sometimes it's just that simple.
Well, that's one thing I'm glad you brought up Kenny's name. So let me find Kenny's horse here. So remember what he was saying about he doesn't like to run horses back too soon. Didn't he have one in here that he was running off?
He is so full of it. Yeah, that was the most incredible statement I heard out of his mouth. Look at Camp Hope when he broke his maiden. He was out 5 days later. He ran him right back into the Breeders' Cup for 2-year-olds. Mm-hmm. King Fury, same thing. Look at the Silent Natty Matty, whatever the filly in the last race, entered it back in 5 days. That was a bunch of baloney. It's like selling. He's trying to sound like he was just, he's such a careful, conscientious person when he does it all the time. I lose a lot of respect for trainers that flop their gums just to get media to write about them, but then they do completely the opposite all the time.
Yeah, that horse was.
I don't believe half the shit that comes out of their mouth. Let's put it that way.
The 8 was scratched in the last.
I mean, 5 days. 5 days. Oh, I'm not sure about. Come on. We're not stupid.
All right. To the other side, doesn't that make doesn't that make a difference from horse to horse, right? If he knows this horse, can't handle that, then it's probably best to maybe not run in the Preakness and try and map out a different.
Horse was back on the track later. No, Chris. Mr. Dan was back on the track 2 days later. 2 days later.
I'm on the track, Bruno, but that doesn't mean you necessarily want to go and take another long endeavor like that again against new shoes.
He's got a laundry list of horses he's brought back within a week when it suited him.
All right. Well, just hypothetically, in a full field of what the ones we think we can between Mystic Dan and let's just say Muth. I mean, would you give Muth an advantage just because he didn't run in the Derby and it might be more fit and ready to go? Could we agree on that?
I think Muth is a better horse.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
I'm already started to get bad when a trainer tells you, well, I'm going to wait. Bullshit. I call bullshit out all the time. My TV takes more bullshits from me than everybody else because it's amazing. All he wanted to do, to be honest, all he wanted to do is to have the media come back every day to ask him if he's going.
No. Do you have any clockers at Monmouth? That was a question.
Huh?
Do you have clockers at Monmouth?
No. Sometimes it's hard to get in a track. It's really hard, because it depends on how tight the clockers are over there with the management. They'll run you out.
Yeah. Well, Bruno.
And also, here's the business part of it.
But why wouldn't they want? Look at the NFL draft. I've given this example many times. They let pretty much anybody in. So why wouldn't they just let you in because you're effectively selling their product? And that has been our push to many of the places where we don't show the live racing for them.
You know the attitude I get from people? Do you know the attitude that I get from some tracks because we're over there clocking? It's like they're doing us a favor. I can't get a work tab out of New York.
Really?
So, Nah. Clockers run businesses at every one of those tracks. Those clockers run that grandstand.
Mm-hmm.
I had to bullet my way into New York. I couldn't even get a tab. They were hiding them from me. The tab with the trainers' names on them, they were hiding them from me. I got stories about how really, without getting me upset, is the mentality behind holding the information away from people.
Yes.
Holding information away from the public.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you think?
Don't even get started.
5 years ago, was that more readily available than it is now? Has it regressed or has it just stayed the same? Okay.
If you go to NYRA.com and you find the work tab, the workouts, and you click on the expandable download, the detail, I had that put in. I worked my tail off to get that put in. Go to NYRA.com.
I am not going to go to NYRA.com, Bruno.
Okay. Well, all I'm saying is if you go to NYRA.com, I can show you how to pull up the tab that has all the trainers on it. For at least 5 years, I fought to get that thing where it wasn't being removed by the clockers.
Mm-hmm.
I fought left and right, and finally Daniel O'Rourke was able to lock it down so nobody would mess it and mess it up. But my guy would the tab would pop up every day. My guy would show up around middle of June for Saratoga. All of a sudden, the tab's not available.
All right.
So I know it's an uncomfortable situation to talk about, but I've had more stuff thrown in my spokes to try to keep me from doing what I was doing than anybody out there.
No.
And the tracks have nothing to do. The clockers basically are the ones that are the problem.
Well,
and why don't you get that information? Is it not available?
Yeah.
It's because they don't want you to have it.
Yeah. Well, we to put a button on this, we just want to be able to promote their product. That's all. I understand. Are you going to be with us next Thursday, or are you going to be busy traveling? I know you've got some plans coming up.
I'll be traveling next Thursday. And Chris, I know we want to keep it positive, but that's the reality.
Oh, trust me.
You know, and we can do all we want about keeping it positive. It's got to be the reality of what we're dealing with and what I've had to deal with.
No, definitely keeping a positive spin on things. All right, well, we'll catch up with you the week after the Preakness. Good luck in your travels. Be looking forward to see what you have as we get closer to that. Other than that, we're going to sign off from here, and we will see you next time on Beat the Clock.